Good evening, everyone. This is the Town of Pompey Town Board meeting for Monday, July 6th, 2020. Scheduled to start at 6:30. It's actually 6:32. This meeting is being held virtually due to the ongoing COVID public health emergency and to the Governor's Executive Order 200-201. The rules regarding meetings of public bodies have been relaxed to allow them to be held remotely by conference call or other similar method, as long as the public can view, listen to the proceedings in real time, and that the proceedings are recorded, transcribed, and posted on the town's website. So we are holding this meeting via Zoom by live streaming it on our Facebook page. It is being recorded and will be available along with the written meeting minutes on the town's website. In attendance tonight, in addition to myself, Renee Rotundo, the town supervisor, our Ann Christmas, Councilor Sheila Larkin, town councilor, Carl Dennis, town councilor, Nikki Reed, Tim Frotesky, attorney for the town, Tom Chartrand as our town bookkeeper, Steve Snell, town engineer, Bob Rodriguez, codes enforcement officer, Judy McElhennon, town councilor, and we also have Chris Fisher on for the Route 92 zone change to the extent that we need to have any questions answered. So if we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance, as much as we don't say it all in unison. If we could start, I pledge
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Let's start with Tom Chartrand and the bookkeeper's report.
So on the receipts and disbursements, which is what I usually go over first, it's near the end.
Tom,
yes.
Can you turn your volume up a little? Is anybody else having a hard time?
No, I can hear him.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I can speak louder. So on our monthly statement of the supervisor, fairly quiet month. Our interest rate on the NI class is now down to 0.31%, down from the beginning of the year where we were just over 1.5%. So we are seeing some lower numbers there. Some good news is our franchise fees came in and we're up with half of the year. If they continued, we're up by $4,000 year to date. If they continue this way, we could be up as much as $7,000 or $8,000. So that's really good news for us. Other than that, we received a small postage refund from the town of Fabius for some of our joint ventures. Some other small things came in. On the expenditure side, it was very quiet all the way down through. Nothing really exciting to tell you about on the expenditure side. Our current year-to-date spending in the general fund is at about 41%. So we're halfway into the year, so we're still under that 50% on the spending. Our highway fund is at 30%, but as you saw, there's some quite large bills coming in, so that number will definitely jump next month. But Tom's been doing a lot of road work for us, so that's great news. Other than that, I had a transfer sheet that I also gave you a copy of. The single page there. I'd like to move some funds from the workers' comp, which we had a significant savings in, to the examining boards. That's the Board of Assessment Review, $250. And I'm taking a guess at what our costs are going to be for unemployment insurance. We have not received the first half of the year bill yet. So I just took a stab at it. That's what I'm hoping it's going to be under. So.
What do you mean by examining boards?
That is the Board of Assessment Review, and they get an annual stipend.
Okay. Okay.
Is that because they met again, Tom?
No, it's because it looks like we increased their stipend for the year from what we had
Oh.
budgeted.
The original, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
Make a motion, we move funds from workers' compensation over to contractual unemployment insurance.
Second.
Is there any
$6,000.
discussion about that? I have one question for Tom before we, the unemployment insurance, you said for the first half of the year, is that how we get billed? It would be on a semi-annual basis, so that's,
It's actually quarterly. We wouldn't have had any billing at March because we didn't have any claims.
okay. So we might see something this month?
I would imagine within the next few weeks, we'll see an actual bill.
Okay.
And it may be due before the end of July, so that's why I wanted
You
to
want
be sure
money
we had
there.
some funds available.
Any
Thank you, Tom.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay, the bank reconciliation, was that a little bit easier to work with, printing it on the page? The
Yes.
lines don't follow across as neat as they did on the big
Yes.
sheet.
Yes.
For some reason, it worked better for my mind.
Okay,
Two. Mine too, Tom. Good job.
okay, so I
So we
think that
need-
was the reconciliation was the next item.
And did I have it wrong? So it's May and June that it is for the reconciliation, not the monthly statement? Because we
Right,
approved the reconciliation in May because it was hard to read.
right. We approved the supervisor statements and reports,
Yeah.
but we did not approve the reconciliation. So it should be May and June's reconciliation.
Yeah, I have it wrong on the agenda. Sorry, guys.
It looked like a pretty minor thing, so I didn't make a big deal out of it.
It's all right. My mistake.
So we need to make a motion
I make a motion, we
to
accept.
approve the May and June reconciliation. I'll make the motion.
Second it.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and the next item was the abstracts for the different funds. Was there any questions on any of those, other than the ones I've already answered today?
I have a couple, if you don't mind.
Ready to go.
Well, you might have already answered this for somebody else, but now that the swim program is on hold till next year, what happens to that cell phone service? Are we going to discontinue it? Or is that up to us to decide? I mean, it seems to make sense that we would discontinue it.
Well, I would think if we're going to do the program next year, we could possibly discontinue it until probably the end of the year. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what the charges would be for disconnecting now, and we would probably lose that number.
Well, sometimes you can suspend your service. So I guess maybe not disconnect is the wrong word, but if you suspend it, it won't necessarily, and then you can reinstate it. I don't know. So,
I don't know. Nikki is our
Renee,
contact, so
yeah,
she would
I
have
was
to
gonna
reach out.
I can reach out to them because I was the one who had originally, contacted them and set the cell phone up, and so I'll call and ask about suspension and see penalties.
okay, thanks.
Yeah,
And then just two other
Maybe
things.
it would, maybe like within a contract, if it's part of a contract, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like with codes, because codes has one.
exactly.
I don't know who, so just those two are the only two, I believe, so probably within a contract. We might be contracted for a year, but I don't, you know.
Well, it's going to cost us about $200 to keep it through the balance of this year. So if there's going to be a charge of $300, we might want to leave it active.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I would just look into it.
It's
Yeah.
worth a reach out to them. Hopefully Nikki can find somebody that would answer a question for her, though.
we
Yeah,
could find out, like, you know how AT&T does a contract where you can have 5 phones for X amount of dollars per month or whatever? Is that kind of what you set up, Nikki, do you think?
I feel like that's what it was. I could-
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm not sure
Okay.
it's exactly like that on Verizon with the state contract. I think each line is added on. I
separate.
don't think there's like a maximum number of lines.
Oh, so state, like, it's totally different for state.
Right. It's not like your normal, what you would get at as a consumer.
Okay, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I guess we'll see, right?
I'll definitely call because I set up Bob's and then it was right after Bob's that I did the one for Megan. Trying to
Okay.
remember.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I just figured if we don't need to expend the funds, if it's not going to be used for that purpose, then we might as well save the money. That was my thought,
Right.
if we can. The other question I had was, is National Grid street corner lighting expense for $767? That's every month?
Yes, it is. It's all, when you come to a town road
Mhm.
corner, there's a street light there lighting it up.
Yeah.
That's what that covers.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then in the
So-
special districts, there's also some billing for,
Yeah.
and those are for the lights in the hamlets of Pompey and Delphi. Delphi is doubled up this month. For some reason, they only seem to bill Delphi every other month for 2 months.
Wow.
So the street corner lighting is around the town. It's not just one set area. It's like we have one at Sweet and Pratt's Falls, and then there's one at Henneberry and Pratt's. So those are the lights that are,
Those are the ones that cost us the $700 roughly a month.
okay. And then one last thing, we have a post standard subscription that's $363.
The highway department gets a paper delivery at the highway garage.
Okay. Okay.
Do they
They've
need
had
it?
it for years.
Yeah. Just wondering
Lunchtime.
what that was. That seems like a lot of money, but
That's
That's
the
a
same
yearly.
as you'd pay if you had it.
yeah,
That's what I,
yeah.
yeah, that's what I
It's just
say.
the
Yearly
first
rate.
time I've seen it.
It's
Okay,
once
that's
a
all.
year.
That's
That's
all
why
my
it's first time.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So I would move to approve the general fund, highway fund, special district fund, trust and agency fund abstracts as presented by the bookkeeper, the most recent version of them.
I
Second.
second that.
Times. Did I hear a second? Was that Carl?
Carl.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried.
And I
Is that
think I
everything?
covered the last item there already. I guess I jumped ahead on that one.
That's okay. You know what I wanted to tell you, Tom, and I'll give it to you, is I just found in my mail today a check from Nimer because they give back to what do they call it? The capital.
Yep, our capitalization
Hmm.
cost.
Yes, so we get half of it this year because
Mhm.
back in the Nimer fold, and we will get half of it next year. So that just came in. I'll give it to you and every little bit.
Actually, give it right to Nikki. She's the one that deposits those
I'll
through
put
the
it, I'll
automated
give it to the
clearinghouse
town
thing.
clerks. Yeah, but it's $331.75, but
Wrote it down.
$331.75 more than we had, so
That's right.
Every little bit helps.
that's right. Nikki,
Yes, I didn't want to interrupt you. So can we go back to the transfer from workers' comp to the examining board? Carl first it and seconded, but there was never discussion or motion. All in favor? I'm just covering my bases.
sorry, but I wrote down that passed. That's funny. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off, which was Ann seconded it.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so did everyone receive the June 1st, 2020 minutes draft?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Some instance of that unless anyone has any changes that need to be made.
No, I make a motion to accept it as presented, June 1st minutes.
I'll
I
second it.
second.
Was that Nick? Was that
That was Sheila.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, my second thing are the mutual agreements for the intermissible agreement to collect for school tax for both JZ and FM, that Renee would need your signature for both.
And board approval, correct?
and board approval, yes.
Does anybody want to authorize?
I'll make a motion to authorize Renee to sign the mutual agreement with FM and JD school districts for the collection of school taxes.
I second it.
Second.
And I think that was Judy.
Yep.
Any discussion? Did everybody get to look at them?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Great, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Tom has not come in, to this call. He did, have a family work emergency, let's put it that way, and wasn't sure he could get on the call. He does want you to know, though, that he has done an inspection of the town signage. He's found some signs that are very much in need of replacement. And he has got a list together and he's working on getting pricing. And the other thing I would give the highway garage some credit for is that they, on their own, dug out the old propane tank that's been buried in the yard of the town hall, and the stump from the Christmas tree front yard, and smoothed that all out. And those were two things that, well, the propane tank was definitely something on our building committee list when Carl gets to speak. So we can check that one off, Carl, because they took care of it already for us. But so I just want to thank them for doing that, because I guess it's their job to maintain the property, but appreciate it nonetheless. So let's move on to Bob and the codes report. Did everybody get a copy of that?
Yes.
I'm not going to go over all.
Bob, you got anything to add?
I will say Leslie has made a lot of calls and she's closed a lot of stuff out, and I'm really happy that we, got as far as we did this year with getting the stuff done. I made one last mad effort to go out and do inspections, and I did 9 inspections one night, and all but one were really positive feedback. And even my predecessor's neighbor has issues with them, and they're really happy we're doing what we're doing. It's all positive feedback.
That's great.
There's a couple
Great
people that have
job,
to come around. I'm not worried about it, but I've had a minor setback this week. I was out for a couple days. I'll be back tomorrow, hitting this again, hitting the inspections and everything. So everything is good. People are happy. Complaints, I'm going to start working on the complaints. The trash on Route 91 got taken care of last week. Judy, I haven't forgot about yours.
Oh, thank you. My neighbors are still complaining.
Well, I've got some other ones I've got to take care of now. We've got a lot off our plate, and it's time to move forward with all our regular business.
Thank you.
There was certainly a jump in the permits from last month to this month.
Yeah, a lot of them were pools and generators. But no, it's.
What do we,
I'm
go-
sorry.
I'm sorry.
You were going to say
I
something.
have a question. I always have questions.
We know that.
I know. But what do we do with these permits that can't be closed out because you're not getting responses? Looks like in 2019 and 2018 combined, there's like maybe 28 of them.
When I fill out the reports to send to Albany, I'm gonna put a narrative in there and telling them why.
So we just make our best effort, and that's
Right.
sufficient.
Right, that's all I can do.
Okay. Can I just ask Tim to weigh in on that? If people aren't responding when he calls homeowners or contractors in order to close out permits, then that's all we do? We don't have to pursue it to the nth degree or anything?
You mean they're not following through on their permits, to their building permits?
We're looking for paperwork, like electrical inspections, plumbing inspections, paperwork that they owe to close these out.
And they're just not responding.
Right. And
Yeah,
basically, it's gonna fall back on them. I'm sorry. it's gonna fall back on them, because if they want to go sell the property,
Right.
if they have an open permit or open complaint or something like that, they're gonna have a hard time selling the property.
Yeah, and you send them to the state, right?
I'm sending all this information to the state, yes.
Okay. That's about the best you can do, Renee.
Okay. I just want to make sure that there's nothing else we're supposed to be doing on our end. As long as, Bob, you and Leslie are doing a great job, so. I mean, with what you walked into and what you've accomplished and
Well,
new permits you got, so, and the number of complaints you're handling.
Good job, Bob.
Yeah,
well, we're getting it. So,
so
I
thanks
just
for the
wanted to thank
reports
everybody
too,
for
the
their
monthly
patience.
reports. Okay, is that all, are you good?
as long as you don't want me to go over the numbers, I'm fine.
Want to go over the numbers?
I can do it real quick.
Yeah, it won't take long.
2020, to date, we've issued 56 permits. 3 are completed. In 2019, there was 118 permits issued. To date, we have 89 closed out. There are 18 still open, work in progress. 11 permits I can't close out because of paperwork.
You done, Bob? Or are you thinking?
2018, there was 98 permits issued.
77 are closed. I did the math.
I'm just rereading my. 51 have been closed out for.
Did we lose Bob or is he just?
I
Wow.
think so.
It took me a minute.
Yes.
Don't start, Sheila. Are you back, Bob? We lost you there.
I laughed, I don't know.
It was funny. Bottom line is you're doing a great job and getting things cleaned up. And people are happy. So
All good.
it's all good, right?
Town for being patient.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing. There's a lot of complaints and everybody wants their complaint handled immediately. And that's not always possible because some are more important or more immediate than others. Shouldn't say more important, but they need more immediate attention. So I just hope that people can understand that and you'll get to it when you can. So anyway, okay, next on the agenda is Steve Snell, the town engineer. I asked him to present because we've been work on the preserved drainage and I wanted him to update the board.
Thank you, Renee. Just to go back a little bit of history on this, the town received complaints back in 2015 regarding some miscellaneous drainage issues throughout the preserve, primarily in one area, but as we started having further discussions with them, you know, others brought up a few other locations, and we sort of did an investigation at the time of areas throughout the preserve development. And I provided the board a memo back in 2016. It was actually January 2016, basically outlining, you know, some of the conclusions, providing some recommendations on how to move forward with it. There were some costs mentioned in there. Some of it was some additional investigation that we thought should be done before we make any, you know, official determinations. So we started looking at that, and we actually took it after. So once we did that, not a lot happened in the years following that. Something like 2 or 3 years ago, it was revisited again, and I actually got some pricing from a contractor to perform some of these improvements that we recommended. So we had some costs at that time, presented them to the board at the time. And, due to the cost, my understanding is what happened after that is the costs were mentioned to some of the HOA members, and it turned into, well, how are you going to pay for it? My taxes are going to go up. I'm not affected by it. So it turned into not a lot of support at the time. It's coming back now, and the latest is they do have a new president, and they want to address these issues in their entirety. So, basically, tell us what the total cost is. We just need to just get it done. Don't worry about trying to do parts of it. Just do all of it at once. So last month we had a meeting out there. Couple, Renee, you were with us, Tom Purcell, the town attorney was out there, and a few of the HOA members. And we walked and we looked at a few of these areas, and basically they're the same areas that I looked at previously. The same sort of issues are still there, but I think they just wanted to kind of get it, I know Renee, get you a little more up to speed as to what the issues were, so you could kind of get a sense for where we're talking about and making some of these improvements and what the issues are. So we had that meeting, and I have looked at the costs, the construction costs we got a few years ago. I did update those, and I looked at each of the areas that we looked at before. So there were 4 areas total, and I did come up with a project cost for that, and I'm in the neighborhood of $250,000 to $260,000. So these are project costs. So these include everything, even contingency. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about doing there. Now, some of these areas, they're not in that bad a shape, but it includes everything. I mean, there's a couple areas that are a lot worse than others. So, some of it, and I've explained to previous boards when these sort of things came up, some of the issues that I found were the original construction of these facilities. So it's unfortunate that we have to deal with it, or the boards now are dealing with this, and it's an issue for some of the residents. But some of the swales, the way they were graded, they just there are specifications they should comply with. I don't know if they were done that way. This is done before any of us, I think, were on the board. Maybe Carl, you were on the board then, but it goes back to who designed it, who constructed it, and certified that it was installed correctly. So, some of it is basically just, regrading some swales and things like that. And, it may not seem like it's a big deal, but it's a lot of disturbance, and some of them are fairly long areas. So it does create a disruption, and all that has to be restored, so it costs money. So again, some of these things are, a couple of them are pretty minor. There's a couple that are, I guess, more major items, I guess. Now, are they, some of the conversations that we've had with some of the residents out there over these years, since 2016, is sort of educating the residents who live there on what the responsibilities are too. So I think some of them are a little bit better informed now, because at the time, they weren't sure if they should be mowing the grass within their drainage easement. That was a question that came up, that we didn't even know we had to do that. Well, you do have to do that because it's your property. The town doesn't go in there and maintain those things. Stormwater management areas, those are maybe a different situation. I believe the town actually contracts with someone to maintain those. But rear yard drainage swales, side yard swales, things like that, those should be maintained by the property owners. The problem is some of them get so in such bad shape that it's very difficult for them to maintain them. And then in some cases they even dump, lawn clippings and things like that behind their property, and that becomes just a you know, a real problem. That doesn't go away. Some of them we've noticed, they'll put in like a little footbridge over the swale, which is really an impedance, which shouldn't be there. So that should be removed. So I'm just kind of explaining some of the stuff that we've encountered, you know, we've looked at by looking at some of these areas. So that's kind of, so where we are currently is we've, you know, went back out, we've met with some of the HOA representatives, and like I said, I put together some costs to improve those 4 areas. You know, I would think the next step, maybe we could present some of that information to them and figure out the best path forward from there. And maybe you propose doing, you know, the areas that are in worse shape now and kind of just do part of it, you know, and not do all of these other areas. But I mean, there's 4, but you know, once you get into start looking at some of these areas, there are going to be others that pop up, I'm sure.
Didn't we
So-
talk about this? Just sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
a little bit, but didn't we speak about this? Carl, reflect a little bit if you can help me here. It's been a little while since we've discussed it, but didn't we talk about starting with one part of the project and then handing it over to the taxpayer, if I'm correct?
It was discussed, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the worst area is where right between the 2 houses, and water just doesn't get out of there, it collects.
Right.
To take on the major part first would be the way to go, but hand it over to the taxpayers, huh?
So did you, Renee, did you speak with the president? Like, is he copacetic with that?
They were
Their
just really looking
position
for the overall cost, I think, is what.
Yeah,
just to-
when we were out there, the HOA president was there with the HOA. Their perspective was if we could get it to a manageable place, to get the work to a manageable place, they would impose upon their HOA membership the requirement that they maintain it so that it never gets as bad as it is right now. And it's pretty bad in some of those areas out there that we looked at.
So I guess what I'm trying to get back at.
But I just let me finish what I'm saying. Part of the problem that the town owns the infrastructure. So if somebody's going to fix it, I don't know. I mean, I wish Tom Purcell was on this call for this purpose, because I don't know exactly which part of it, where the boundaries are for what it is that we own and what we would be responsible for if there's a condition that needs to be improved. But it sounds like the homeowners in the area have contributed to the problem. And Steve, you can address that. If you
in some cases, in a couple of cases we found, which is actually documented in that memo that I provided the board, which I can provide you all a copy of.
Could you
Renee, I think Renee, I sent it to you if you want to forward that on, or
he sent me the one that was sent to Carol back in 2016.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I can forward it all. I can forward everything on to all of you.
Yep. You know, in one lot, I know at the time we looked at, someone was putting a pool in, they were dumping spoil around the backside of the pool, and there was a drainage swale 20 feet from it. So what's going to happen is it's going to rain, and a lot of that soil it's going to erode, and it's going to run off into that swale, and it's going to settle out, and it's going to become a nuisance. It's going to be a problem. It's going to start to fill in over time. Lawn clippings, that's another big one. Installing anything over the top of any of those little footbridges or anything like that, those are a problem. And the other thing that we noticed was one of them actually, believe it or not, was a shed that was almost within the swale itself. So that's obviously you can't have a shed within a drainage easement, and there's a drainage easement behind the properties. Yeah, and some of it is the swales were. And I just think they were installed this way, and they were installed with like much steeper slopes than they should have been, which makes them difficult to maintain. So they're more like a farm ditch or something like that, where you just have you just take a backhoe and you just dig with steep side slopes, a channel, those need to be maintained a lot, and really the only way to maintain them is to excavate the material out. If you can make the slope and if you can push the side slopes back at like a 3-on-1 slope, you can mow that. So then you can mow all the way up to where, you know, it's maybe in the very, you know, at the bottom of the channel, it might be a little wet and you don't want to mow that. So well, you can trim that, right? In some cases, that's not like that. The slopes are very steep, so they drop off. You can't mow it. You have to reach in with like a trimmer. And some of them are just hard to get to, and they just don't do it. So, and then they grow in, there's cattails and that sort of thing.
Didn't you give us a presentation showing us what we could do with those swales? Don't you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you share that with Renee so that she can see that we've already, you know, you've already done that project part of it?
Yeah, so some of it, like I said, some of it was just informing everybody of what could be done to improve those areas. I think, so once we're getting everyone up to speed now, what was been done before, now it's, let's revisit those costs that we obtained back in, you know, really the end of 2015 to 2020, 2021 costs. So that's where that came from. So I don't think there's any real investigation that has to be done outside of, if you went to, you know, to prepare bid documents to put this out for public bid, you would actually, you know, have to get a survey of some of these areas because you have to specifically define what you need a contractor to do for you. So everybody bids on the same information. So,
But we already
that's-
have the paperwork in place to do what we would need to do, right? Didn't you show us that paperwork already? Didn't you present
no,
that to us?
well, that was the memo and just some investigation that we did. It wasn't design documents, no.
Okay.
No, it was really just like preliminary information, basically. Yep.
And the other thing, as Sheila said, shouldn't it be on the homeowners? It is going to be on the homeowners because it's a special district. So any cost.
Well, so yeah, everything would be, right.
Everybody, it's going to be incurred by them. So I want to be really clear. I mean, it's $250,000 that you're suggesting this might cost. That's total project cost. And that's because I asked for total project costs because I don't know what the high end is. I don't want to come in saying it's going to be here. It turns out to be here. I'd rather know it might be up here. And if we can save somehow with highway doing a piece of it or trucking while we talk today, Steve.
Yep.
And it might not be as much.
That's right.
Great, but the homeowners association has said, and now granted, they're probably not speaking for everybody in the development. They want it done, and they're willing to pay. So
how many homes in that homeowners association? How many homes are we talking?
Now, Steve, do you know?
How many houses this divided?
I think it was like 104, if I'm not.
Is it 104? I wanted to say 140, but maybe it's 104.
Who's the new president for the HOA?
What?
Who's the new president for the HOA?
His name is Dave. What's his name? Why am I going to draw a blank?
Dave Angelo.
What was it?
Oh,
what, Tim? You're muted.
Him. Unmute.
Oh wait,
Tim. There you are.
I think it's Dave Angelo.
Okay. I hear this.
This is the preserved drainage only that we're speaking of, correct?
Yes, and the other person that walked around with us was Dwayne, was it Wisby? Wisby. So those were the two that accompanied us on the tour of the preserved drainage system. So this is just preliminary discussions so that everybody understands where we're at. Steve is going to put together something a little more in depth as far as the costs go to break it out some more, and we're going to meet on that and drill down a little bit to understand it better and see where we're at. And then we need to really meet with the people out there and make sure that they know what's coming. So
To enter
Preserve
private
drainage,
property, any
preserve drainage is currently
agreements
112 parcels.
112.
Carl, what were you saying?
to entering this private property, how many agreements there are gonna have to be that nothing's damaged, wouldn't hold the town property liable in any way?
Well, Carl, we have easements if we don't have complete ownership of all of the drainage facilities. So
Yeah. Yep.
we have the right to go onto that
You have
property.
the right for the easement, yeah, okay.
And
So-
Renee, you asked the question before, what it is that the town is responsible for, and it's really all of the drainage swales within the easements and all the storm sewer facilities, including stormwater management areas. So all of that is the town's. So that all
Yeah,
got
and
conveyed to the
I
town.
jokingly said to Tom Purcell
Yeah.
that day, why did the town take on
Right.
the ownership of this?
Right.
But
Right. So if it wasn't built to
so-
the specifications, then
Yeah.
it shouldn't have. But that's
Yeah.
nor here nor there. Where that's not where we are. So
we are where we are, and we
right.
have to proceed, and they
Yep.
want us to. The good piece of this is there's no emergency to this. Nobody's basement is being flooded. Nobody. It's just that the water really does build up when they get significant rainfall. There might be a little water that there might. Be in the back of
Actually,
people's
I'm glad you brought that
yards.
up because actually what they have told us is the water will fill up in a lot of the drainage swales and even in the areas that are worse than others, but it does generally stay within the easement, which is what it's supposed to do. So that's a good thing. Now, so a couple of them have commented on that they get water in their basement. But if you keep, talking about that issue with them, it's more of a sump pump problem. That is not the town's responsibility. That is groundwater. So that's not something that the town needs to be involved in. That's not something that we can address necessarily, if you know what I mean. If groundwater, if that comes up, that's not something we can address. So we're talking about surface water runoff and conveying it within town facilities is what we're talking about. So I did mention that to them, so I think they understand that now. But that is great to hear that because some of these the residents, they have pools and things like that, and they're in the backyard but they have said that the water is not and generally not getting outside the drainage easements. So that was good to hear that, even with some of the higher intensity storms. So
Anybody have anything else for Steve? I really appreciate you taking the time to
no problem.
present on this.
Anytime.
The only thing I would add is that I think we need to do the same sort of walk around at Spruce Ridge North. And I think that we should include wherever Bob went, there is down there, because I think there might be some codes issues that need to be addressed over there, unlike at the preserve. But I think that's the next one to be looked at, because those people as well over there are concerned. So we should try and schedule a similar meeting to do a similar walk around.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey,
you.
Tim, you're up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we have 3 items. The first one is the zone change for Salt Point Rentals LLC on Route 92, which we have looked at, discussed, and we held a public hearing on it at the last meeting. And then the planning board went ahead and did the subdivision that was required contingent on a zone change. So the subdivision actually splits the property almost evenly in terms of acreage. So half of the site will remain farmland or farm district. The other half would go to the Hamlet commercial. We have to do, I don't know if anybody has any questions for Chris Fisher, who's on the line, who's on this call with us, about the specifics of the project itself. If y'all recall, they're going to basically take the existing structure that's on the site, turn it into a office for the home building business, and also have some type of ability to provide displays for their customers at that site. There will not be a significant amount of traffic generated from this project. In fact, it's going to be less than the traffic that was generated for the golf practice course. So I don't know, does anybody have any questions for Chris about the project itself? So the next thing we need to do is we need to do the environmental impact of this project and determine whether or not it's going to have a significant environmental impact. We have, the applicant has filled out part 1 of the short environmental assessment form. It's our responsibility to fill out part 2 of the environmental assessment form. I'm going to read through the questions with you, and as I've looked at it, all of the determinations have been no or small impact may occur. Again, and that's based on the fact that the site is not going to change very much at all. People aren't, in fact, it will be improved from an environmental standpoint and from a traffic standpoint. So can I go through part 2 with everyone, and we'll see if we'll see what the answers to these questions. There's 11 questions. The first question is, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? We're going to say, we said no to small impact. Let me know if anybody disagrees with that, based on the fact that there are Hamlet commercial properties within a quarter mile of this site. And so it's not out of character with this stretch of 92. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the use of the land? No to small again. The site itself will be Hamlet commercial, but as proposed by the applicant, it's not, the site itself will not be developed at this point. It's going to be kept as it is. Maybe some of the structures will be taken down. I'm sure some of them will be taken down, but it's not going to increase the intensity of that property. Does anybody disagree with that?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of an existing community? Again, no to small on that. Please speak up if you disagree with that. Will it affect the critical environmental area in the town? We don't have any critical environmental areas. So the answer to that would be no. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkways? Again, we believe that this proposal will actually generate less traffic than the existing site or the previous use of that property. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy, and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No to small. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies? Chris, this is on well and septic, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it will not affect either the public-private water supply or public-private wastewater treatment utilities. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? We are not aware of any of those on this site. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, or fauna? The site itself has been subdivided so that the wetlands remain on the farmland property, so they will not be impacted by any development. 2 more questions. Will the proposed action result in an increase in potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No to small. And will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? Again, no to small. Does anybody believe that any of those questions would have a large impact on the environment?
No.
No.
All right. So based on review of part 2, there's 2 things we need to do. Somebody needs to make a motion to declare the town of Pompey Town Board as the lead agency for seeker purposes.
Make that motion to declare the town of Pompey the lead agency for seeker
I'll
purposes.
second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And based on review of part 2 of the short environmental assessment form, I would make the recommendation that the board issue a negative declaration, meaning that it will not have a significant, this action will not have a significant environmental impact.
I make a motion, there's no significant impact on the Salt Points Rental LLC.
I'll
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So the board is now free to make a determination if they want to do the zone change. I have taken the liberty of drafting a resolution that I think was either sent out last night or today, probably today, that would create the local law necessary to make the zone change. Does anybody have any questions about that resolution?
Did everybody get it and read it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Judy? Yeah?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Okay. Carl, you're doing great, by the way, with the phone. With Zoom. Yeah. Third time's a charm or whatever it is. Okay, so I just want to say that I did review it. I had a couple of minor things I ran by Tim. One was a date, the other was to make sure we included that the ECC had a recommendation as well. I think that might have been it.
No, then we added the one condition, which was required by the Onondaga County
Oh,
Planning,
right.
Board. And the applicant is well aware of this. There was a subdivision that was done in 2017. The subdivision map was never filed. This will not take effect. The zone change will not take effect until that subdivision map is filed so that we can create the 2 lots. You understand that, Chris?
Absolutely.
So that's the one condition that we put on the zone change.
So I guess I will start the conversation. I just want to say that we've been through this process with this applicant for a while now. So we've all had the chance to get familiar with the project and have had a public hearing last month that was where there was no real unfavorable or opposition to the project. So I just want to put that on the record before, and I entertain any motions anybody would like to make.
The motion could be as simple as adopting the local law 2020-1 prepared by the town attorney for the zone change for this property.
I'll make that motion to adopt local law 2020-1 that was prepared by the town attorney.
Second it.
I second it. Is there any discussion by anybody? No? Okay, should we do a roll call on this?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to do a roll call vote on this resolution for the zone change on the property on Route 92. Ann Christmas?
Yes.
Sheila Larkin?
Yes.
Carl Dennis?
Yes.
Judy McElhannon?
Yes.
And Renee Rotundo is a yes. So I would say there would be nobody's opposed, and that motion to approve that resolution for the zone change has carried.
So Chris, just make sure you get, you work with Jamie on that subdivision filing.
Yeah, and like we had discussed, unfortunately, that's not going to be able to happen until we close on the purchase. But we have the time, or we know the appropriate procedure to make it all work to take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there is a county planning board form that needs to be submitted, correct? With whatever action we took, so that's done by by me or you, Tim?
I could fill it out. It's,
Okay.
I,
I just
I
want to make
have
sure
it.
that we don't overlook that needs to be done.
It should be noted for the record that the county had no, they determined that there would be no inter-county impact from the zone change. So you were free to vote on that without doing it with a majority plus one to override their decisions. They didn't have anything but comments.
And they did a really nice job. Everybody here got the county planning report. So they did a nice job laying it out. I'm gonna have
Will
to say,
that go on the website?
I was wondering if we could. Can we put that
Probably,
on the website?
if not,
There's no reason
it'd
not
be-
to.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have.
Yeah, I think people should see the work that the county planning board does. It's pretty impressive. I mean, they're very thorough in their analysis. They lay it out very well. They had a couple of what I guess I would call proposals for future development that they list, and that probably would be a guide for, is it Jim? I forget your client, Jim, yeah.
Yeah.
For Jim and his company, moving forward, but it was really well laid out, and so was the resolution, Tim. It was very thorough recitation of what has taken place, developed, and Chris and Jim, it was a pleasure working with you too. Very professional and very collaborative. It was a good, very responsive to the concerns the town had.
And we just want to thank the board for taking the time over the past few months, a difficult time to actually, work with and work on this project. So we really appreciate it, and thank you to the board.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Bye,
All right.
Chris.
All right. Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
The next item I had, Madam Supervisor, is the scrap metal policy, which was revised based on conversations that we had 2 months ago. I think that was also sent out, and I think we're in a position to discuss whether or not the board wants to approve the scrap metal policy as it's been presented.
So has everybody seen it and reviewed it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's nodding, okay. Is there, anybody want to weigh in on it or have input as to the provisions? It's pretty straightforward, I think.
Right.
From the original one, it's a vast improvement. It now says what it should say, and it will benefit town of Pompey, yes.
Yes. And it's very clear how you handle scrap metal and what you do with the proceeds. And there's a process in place for it. The proceeds will be turned into the town clerk's office to be put in the general fund. So, so I would entertain any motion anybody would like to think about approval or not of the scrap metal policy.
I make a motion that we accept the scrap metal policy the way it is written as of now.
Second it.
Carl seconds it. Any other discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Then the last item on that I wanted to discuss is the comp alliance resolutions. We've already passed the resolutions, but they're now looking for an embossed resolution. So I've looked at them, or I have not looked at them yet. Renee's got to send them to me. But if Renee, do you want to discuss what the difference is?
Just quickly, yeah. In order for us to participate in the workers' compensation plan, which is the new plan, which is Comp Alliance now, they're requiring, as part of their agreement, 2 appendices. Appendix 8, which relates to, let's see, us wanting to enter into membership into the plan, and then Appendix B, excuse me. I'm not exactly sure of the distinction between A and B, but that we are choosing to become self-insured for our workers' compensation claims. And you could state it better than Tim, but that's basically what the two are. We already did this in our own way, shape, or form back on March 29th when we approved the change in the brokers and to switch to Eastern Shores and Nymer and compliance. But this is something that they want with our town seal on it. So Nikki, I'm gonna have to get you guys to help me do that. But if you could authorize me to sign these two documents contingent upon Tim's review of them and his approval, I would appreciate it. So we can make sure we have all our ducks in line for workers' comp.
I make a motion to let Renee Rotundo sign the paperwork for the comp
Workers'
insurance,
workers' comp.
workman's comp insurance.
I'll second that.
Okay, second, any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Thank you, guys.
That's all I have.
Okay. You want to talk about the building committee and the
Yep.
last painting project?
We have two contracts for painting the, two proposals for painting the schoolhouse. One is from Ed Doherty, and he's at $3,850. He followed the list of everything that Ruth Hoteling brought us, and he put it all in his contract just as it was worded here, $3,850. The other one is from Paul Newman, Team Prestige Painting. And he said he was going to go all out when I talked with him, and he certainly did. His is $7,950. There's only 5,000 in the budget. He realized that, but he went ahead and did his proposal as he wanted to. And I've known Doherty, he does an excellent job. Actually, the $3,850 followed everything that the Historical Society wanted. He does quality work. I think it's pretty easy that a motion to award the job to Ed Doherty in the amount of $3,850.
I second it.
Is this the only major project this year for the Historical Society?
Yeah, yes, and it's 2 years overdue. It was budgeted a year ago, and it was supposed to have been done last year. So
Okay.
yeah, this is it.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, the schoolhouse is owned by the town, correct? So it's
Correct.
a-
We own it, maintain it,
In our
and keep it
budget,
up.
yep.
It is a gem. Ruth Hoteling brings school bus loads of kids there throughout every year, and they get a kick out of seeing how it was. So we will preserve that building, yes.
So I had Judy made a motion, Sheila seconded it. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
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 I'll notify Ed Doherty, yes.
Okay, thanks, Carl. I just want to note too, that building committee has met twice in June. Wants to do an inspection of the town facilities, and the second time to sort of prioritize the sort of what I would consider a new town, which is to come up with a capital improvement plan. As a result of the work that's being done, there's a significant amount of maintenance of the buildings and structures that needs to be done. So we're at the stage where we've got the list prioritized, and now we're looking for numbers and trying to figure out what different things will cost. We'll go on from there. So we basically go ahead, Carl.
When our committee met, it was put into high priority and urgent, medium priority, not as urgent. And actually, we'll go over some of it right now. Bob, did you check into the town hall fire alarm repair? Are you there, Bob?
Yeah, I'm waiting for somebody to get back to me on pricing for that. Yes.
The AED equipment repair too, to check the batteries you were going to.
On the ADA,
Yeah, AED.
The pads need to be replaced, Carl. They need to be updated. I checked that when I was in the town hall one day. The batteries are good on the AED, but the pads better get
Yeah.
updated.
You
Okay,
can order those online.
I don't know where
I've
we
ordered
did.
them for the mountains online. You can do it right online.
if the town clerk would order them then, or you order
Yes.
them, so we get that up and running, yes.
Yep.
One of you.
We
Okay,
can order them.
You can order them.
take care of it, Sheila.
I will.
Okay, salt barn roof repair. Tom was gonna check if the insurance covered any of the shingles blown off. He's not here now. We're gonna get some exhaust fans in the welding area. Right. The cupola, Bob, you climbed to the top. Do you see where it was leaking or what the problem was?
Tom and I went up there. There, the siding is rotted. There's some rottage up there on the boards, the corner boards. Tom was going to be getting a hold of.
Mike
Okay.
Latosha.
Latosha, yeah. Tom was gonna get a hold of Latosha and get a
I'll
price.
check then. All right. Windows, we checked out the windows, if they're gonna have to be replaced.
Latosha's gonna check out the two,
Two at the
office
same
windows
time.
at the same time.
All right, that's what I thought. Other things was, eventually the highway garage overhead doors are gonna have to be replaced. Tom, I will check with, Tom. We need a water softener system, and I'll call Schutz to come over and give a price if, he hasn't. Repair the accent, I'll check on that. Kennedy put them up there, but Peter Lawrence, I'll get someone to come up, do that. The water softener needs to go in because that water is so hard. Heat exchangers, John Shahin is checking into a couple of things, and we'll have another meeting in 3-4 weeks, see how we're doing.
What about inside of Nikki's office? There was a wall when you go directly in by the window, underneath that window. Did anybody take a look at that? You know?
I know that Bob and John went in there.
Did.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was on the list. I actually have a list and I'll pass it on to you, Carl. I'll come up and drop it off to you. It's an old list and Mike Latosha's stuff is in there and I'm gonna give it to you, okay? And it might just help with what you've got going on, but it sounds like you got a lot of good stuff going on.
Okay.
And Carl, the one thing as we sort of passed over in the high priority list was the town furnaces, the town hall furnaces that are really, 25 years in counting. So
Right.
I know John Shaheen is looking into alternatives or options for that. So,
Yeah, we'll get a report from John at the next
Yeah.
meeting. Yeah, I didn't mean to skip over that.
No, I know. I thought I forgot to put it on the list. So, okay. Sorry,
Okay.
Carl. You
Enough.
good?
Yeah.
Ann, do you just want to bring people up to speed on what's been going on with working on the planning and the zoning board
We
proceedings?
had a meeting a few weeks ago. Tim, Jamie, Renee, Bob, myself, Dave Tessier, and Sue Smith, and how it will run when people drop off applications for planning board and zoning board issues. When I left, things kind of fell apart in how it was done, so we put down a schedule or a listing of what happens when someone comes in for an application. I think everybody got a list and just tells, you know, who's responsible for what things, so there's no questions anymore.
And so that when somebody leaves, the process doesn't leave with them. So
Good
that
idea.
it remains. So I
Will
just
you
am,
put this on the website?
yes, but it's not in final draft yet. I mean, I think it's close to final draft, but Ann had one comment after I sent the last round out, and so
Okay.
I make sure everybody's good with it. But then, Tim, I don't see any reason not to put that on the website. Do you? I mean, that's really good information, and Nikki already taken the list because the lion's share of the ministerial duties are going to the clerk's office. So she's already taken that list and pulled out exactly what they need to be responsible for. And so hopefully this will streamline the process and everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. So we don't have any confusion, because there has been some confusion about who's supposed to be doing what. And
Great job, you guys.
process
Yeah,
not to be-
absolutely. This is
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you for putting it together.
You are so welcome. And I thank the people that spent 2 hours of Saturday morning on call putting this together, because it was a labor, but it was a really great effort. And I think that everybody that is going to be affected by it was on that call and participated and gave input. So it was good. It worked
Good
out.
job. Great
Yeah.
job, everybody.
Yep. Yep.
Awesome team.
Sheila,
Yes.
all about IT? Or have we said?
Yes. So I think we're kind of at a little bit of a standstill. I do have to say though, I think with the proposal that we have, I don't know if everybody read through it or not. My one thing that I think the town needs to have is a sonic wall. That every single person that I spoke with said we should have a sonic wall. So we don't necessarily have to agree tonight on, you know, X amount of dollars per month, but I think we should maybe think about hiring an IT company to come in and place a sonic wall into the town of Pompey. It's secure, and they all said we should have one. So I don't know how everybody feels or not, but we can do it for under $1,000 based on the proposal that we were given. It's a step in the right direction. We see how a company does that we choose to do this and start from there. We start small. That's the first thing on the proposal that they think that we should have. I think it's a necessity. IT is huge. We are changing. We are Zooming. The need to be secure for the town of Pompey is vital. If you look at any board that is going on right now, IT is huge. It's a cost that we are going to have to incur. So I just think that maybe just to start small, maybe we could just put the sonic wall in. I think that's a necessity. And see how he does with the sonic wall. And then maybe take the month to go over it. Renee, I think maybe we could have Dan come in for a public meeting to explain our IT and what our needs are. And maybe he could do that in August at the meeting.
Who did you say could come in?
We could have Dan Bender come in,
Oh.
or, you know, we can.
Yeah.
We can
He
meet.
has offered to do that. He's one of the,
Not manage it.
yeah, that's the proposal that we're looking at, because there's proposals that came in. One was probably almost twice as much as the other.
Right.
And the one that we're looking at is a significant expenditure. But I do agree with Sheila. I mean, the cost of, if from based on my conversations with him, the cost of a sonic wall would be about $650 to $700. If that's the case, then we could do it initially to just to get in place. He basically said to me when he reviewed this proposal with me and we went over it, you know, page by page, that our current security is home level. It's home level, and we are a municipal organization.
Yeah.
He said we have consumer grade security, and that is just unacceptable for municipal government to have that low level of security. So I completely agree with Sheila. The only concern I have is, Tom, where is the money in the budget? Because I don't know, I know that Veronica just submitted another bill for her June expenses, and I'm not sure where we stand with IT right now.
Well, here's our recap. So after the billing that you approved tonight, we will be 1,600 in the negative on our IT website line. So I will have to prepare a transfer sheet for next month to cover that. So if you give me an idea of what your numbers are going to be, it sounds like we at least need to transfer another 3,000 from somewhere in the budget.
Yeah, I didn't realize we were already in the negative. I was thinking.
Yeah, we had about a little bit over 1,000 left, and we had several bills from Veronica and one from WebGeo for the email service.
Okay. I don't know why I thought we only had one from Veronica.
I think WebGeo was like 500. and
How much
something.
do you think we should be?
Well, I think it depends. I mean, you've talked about 1,000 plus 1,600, so that's 2,600 that we're at without any IT services beyond this this wall.
And I think if we get the wall up, get it somewhat secure, then maybe they can come in and say, okay, this year you can do this, next year you can do this, and just piece it together for us. I think it would be beneficial for him to come in and speak with all of us. So everybody understands. There's a lot about it that I don't even understand. I know that we're desperate for IT up there and one person to run it all for everybody. That's.
And the other thing that we absolutely, in my opinion, and take it for what, because I'm not very tech savvy, but so if I think it's necessary, is we need a new server. And I mean, it's just.
It's old, and they all said that.
It's old, it's obsolete, the updates are no longer available on the one the town has. No longer under warranty. I mean, it's a server we should be relying on at this point. So I think that's going to be costly. But and so Tom, you and I'll have to look at where we can pull some funds. But I absolutely don't think that we can skimp on our IT expenses. And yet I'm also very, very vigilant about it because of our circumstances. Our revenues coming in, but between now and the end of the year are so unknown. So, but I do think that into this year that IT was going to be a priority. We've made it a priority. People really love the website. I keep hearing that. And I think that this is, we cannot do without. So I agree about the sonic wall.
Once we get it all, complete, it's smooth sailing. It just is.
Well, it's security too. I mean, it's just security. And in this day and age, it's irresponsible not to have it in place. So we need to do something to upgrade it. So Tim, I need a little guidance here. So if it's not more than $1,000 to do the labor and the included with putting in the sonic wall, maybe there isn't any, I don't know, because I don't know enough. Is that something I can do? I could authorize without the board needing to weigh in, or should, I mean, they're here. I don't, I'm sure nobody's really objecting to this. We need it, but is that something I can take on without having to get into the contract? And because we're not really there yet. Still looking at this proposal.
Right. I don't remember what the procurement policy says. I think it was $1,000 or less. You can spend up to $1,000.
Is that right, Tom Sharkin?
Yep, it's $1,000 for equipment. It's up to $3,000 for equipment and services. In other words, a public works, which this sounds more like public works to me.
Okay.
But you need to have funding in place for it. So The board
So
needs to be
can-
comfortable that we're gonna be moving some money around.
Can we do it, do we need to do a transfer tonight in order to be able to start accomplishing some of this?
Yeah, I would recommend we probably move $3,000 from the, I guess we would probably remove it from the police and constable because we haven't had any billing there. And we'll move $3,000 into the website, and that will give you enough to do this sonic wall.
Okay. I would make a motion then to move $3,000 from the police constable line to the, what's the line? Is it communication?
It's public information. It's
Public information line.
A
I'll second
1480.
that.
Sheila seconds it. I need other discussion?
No?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
I will send an updated transfer sheet with all of them on one sheet for you after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
Sheila?
We'll get there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
she's got to drag me there, but we'll get there.
Oh, we're
I
gonna
just
skip
don't know,
there.
I don't know enough. I
I
don't know
don't
enough about IT, so it,
That's why we're gonna get him in and he'll
Yeah.
talk to us. It'll be good.
okay.
Renee,
Judy, do you have, oh, go ahead.
Just one thing while we're talking IT, with everything that has been emailed back and forth, is there any way, maybe a Dropbox account or something where you can put things in and we can go and grab them instead of,
Let me tell you something.
Other
After
emails?
the number of emails I've sent today, back and forth, I said to Sheila, we need a shared document. We need the ability to share documents so that for each board meeting, I can throw things in there and everybody knows where to go to look at things. But a Dropbox for the time being could do the same thing.
That's
have-
what the goal is, Annie, so that everything is secure going into one spot and we're not all using personal computers that are, it's all got to be secure. It's town documents.
next month, look into Dropbox or something like that?
I'll
Yep.
look into it for the next month, but I want that to be temporary. I'd rather have it be, I mean, maybe it's okay, but I would rather have us have a shared, like, once we get our,
Why don't we
internal
talk
system.
to, maybe bring it up to Dan? Maybe we can talk to him and say, hey, what do you suggest?
Right.
Okay. Judy, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, I just want to say that I really enjoyed taking Sheila's spot that night that we went through the highway. My eyes were totally wide open by the time I got out of there. I really was amazed at how much has to be repaired. I really appreciate you guys letting me be a part of that. I was really enjoyed it. Lots of work ahead, everybody.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out how we pay for it, but we'll figure that out as we go. That's why the capital improvement plan or capital projects or whatever you want to call it, is probably the way we need to go.
Budget time,
Well, Carl?
budget time, some of it'll try to be planned then,
Yeah.
figured out.
Okay, so we're almost done. I just want to update everybody on COVID for July, because we've been doing it month by month. There's not a whole lot that's changed so far. Since we're such a small town administration, we've been pretty much, as I've said before, operating with each department being fully staffed, because we have pretty much just one person in the clerk's office too. And then the only place that's been, there's more than that, is the highway, but they've been deemed essential, so they've been working for the most part all along. So nothing much is still requiring people to make appointments to come to the town hall, and they have to wear, you have to wear a mask. And Nikki, I think you got all your tape distance in place so people will know where to stand and what 6 feet is and everything.
Yep.
Justice courts are opening this month. Judge Cagnetti's court will be, Judge Ammons court is starting on the, who's got a calendar? 13th, not this coming week. Yeah, the 13th, I think it is. What's the day? The
Yeah, he told me the 13th.
6th, the 7th, yeah, the 13th. And then Judge Cognetti's court will be the following Tuesday, the 20, or the 20th. They have submitted to me their plan for how they will control traffic through the courts, and the uniform court system is a lot stricter than the governor is about precautions. So they have to follow what the court system wants them to do. So they have come up with a plan for how they will control traffic in the parking lot. That's going to be interesting. It's going to require some orange cones and some traffic control directions and some signage, but I think it's a good idea. They're going to basically try and do court the same way they do the milk and egg giveaways, which is you come in one way and you go out the other and you get in a line. So, but the courts will be open this month. We have submitted an application, not the application, but because that requires Tom Chartrand's involvement. But we have applied to have an account with FEMA so that if and when municipalities can receive any sort of reimbursement for our COVID costs, we'll have the ability to submit that. So, and Thomas separated out a lot of those costs. I saw it in today's abstract. So we should be able to, if we can, collect, get reimbursement. I don't know if we'll be able to do it with payroll, but the other costs are going to be the kinds that will be covered. And I just want to let everybody know, the board knows, because I called each one of you individually once I got a little bit more information from the Cazenovia College. We had to suspend or cancel the swim program this year. I can't even find out if Cas College pool has opened. I don't know if anybody else knows that, but they weren't even going to open until July 1st, but I don't know if they have opened. And if they're only going to open to individual lap swimming, and when we would ever have been able to start our program was really up in the air, and people needed to know and couldn't give them answers. And nobody in the county, as far as townships goes, was doing opening pools. I think the city, am I correct? They're opening a couple or two or three. Oh, he's looking at his phone. Is the city opening a couple pools?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think they are, but I don't think any of the towns are. So it's not like we're the only ones. We're actually, what else is doing. But
How are they working the contract? Did we find out?
I'm sorry?
Did we find out how they're working our contract with them?
We're putting the deposit, which was only what, $500, Tom, towards next year's deposit. We're just going to.
That's correct. So we're all set for next year.
Yeah, so we don't have that expense next year. And like, that's the bad side of not having a swim program. And I have heard from a few people that were very disappointed, that really wanted it, that felt like it was necessary for their kids, and some of their kids were going to be employed as instructors or lifeguards. But the health risk just wasn't going to outweigh, I mean, that wasn't going to outweigh the health risk. There was so many restrictions that were going to be placed on using that pool that it just
Not
made
feasible.
sense to have to suspend it this year. So the other thing, the solar overlay district local law, according to John Shaheen, has been blessed by Tim and is ready to go to come before the board. So I think in August we will get a presentation from John on the state of the local law and decide when to schedule a public hearing. And I know Sheila has asked that it be, if we can do it, a face-to-face some public hearing. And that might affect when we do schedule it, but we'll see in August. So I just want everybody to know that. Some of us were at the Onondaga Grown event at Heritage Hill. Ann was there, Sheila was there with her family, and Dave Skevel was there from Brown Cooperative. He's their executive director. And he's also a town of Pompey resident. He's so knowledgeable on all things agricultural. He was very, and when he spoke, he really spoke about wanting, education being the key to having non-agricultural citizens understand just what it takes to run a farm and, not get in the wagon and take the little tour around the hayfield, but what it really takes. So we got talking about things, and he's offered to come and do a presentation to this board about the Farmland Preservation Act, and just really to define and explain what some of the terminology is. And we've been talking about doing some things where we could really increase public understanding of farming. So I don't know how the board feels about this. If you'd be interested in hearing from him personally, I don't know what his availability is, but does anybody want to weigh in, especially the farmers?
Be a good presentation. That would.
I'd love to hear it.
I would love to hear it. Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Then I will invite him. It might not be next month, just depending on what his availability is, but he's a really good speaker, I thought. And so I think we'll be well served to hear from him. And then last but not least on my list I have one other thing before the last but not least. I would like to start doing a monthly check-in with all of the departments, which aren't that many, but in the town administration. So what I'm thinking is maybe halfway through the month, the supervisor, the clerk, codes, the assessor if he's around, highway super, the courts if they will, the board chairs for planning, zoning, and ECC. And Tom, I haven't forgotten you. You're sitting over there looking, and you, just to sort of check in. It's just a check. Keep us like what's going on with each other, because what I'm finding is sometimes Nikki gets a call, Bob gets a call, and I get a call all about the same thing, and we have no idea that, or Tom herself, and we have no idea that the other person has gotten a phone call. So I think it would be really helpful just to be able to coordinate our efforts so that it's nice. We're probably all responding, but I'm not sure somebody needs like 3 or 4 callbacks when one would suffice. So I think things like that could really be streamlined if we tried to meet once a month. And Sheila, you want to say something? I can tell.
No, I'm laughing because my bull is mooing.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I'm going to probably pick a random date. Tim, do you think that's something you should be in attendance at? What?
Happy to be there. Sure.
Okay. So I'll pick some random date. We can do it by Zoom and just everybody give a little spiel on what they're working on so that we all have an idea, so that if something comes up, we're not taken by surprise. And I know that's happened quite a few times in the clerk's office, and I saw Nikki nodding, so I think she thinks it's a good idea.
I love this idea. I'm so excited.
Organization.
So last but not least, I wanted to discuss with the board the concept of perhaps honoring Judge Alley for his 40 years, I think, of service to the town. But I'm open to suggestions as how we would do that. I don't know how many years was John Palladino here, and he got his name on a building. So I'm not sure we would rename a building for Lou, but I didn't know if there was if anybody has any suggestions. I mean, a plaque with his picture someplace in the
In the courthouse would be nice. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, courthouse or the bench.
Or the bench, or I don't know if anybody would want to go so far as to name the meeting room after him. It's more than just a courtroom, although I know the judges think it's just a courtroom. But
yeah, we could do
so,
that.
and I would love, if we do a plaque, I would like to also give him the same if we, you know, whatever we hang there, he would be able to take with him, but, and then have a little.
I think
center
a
to
plaque is a
present it.
nice thing to put up on the wall. I think.
What'd you
that's a
say,
great
Sheila?
idea. I think a plaque would be nice on a wall in there,
Okay,
Agree.
honoring him.
okay, well, so let me work on that, and I hope he's not listening. I'll probably go tell him. So,
I
I
doubt
don't know, is Veronica, Veronica's still here, but she's muted in
Kind of, sort of.
video. Veronica, did anybody comment on Facebook? Because I did put in the agenda that for this month, we could allow, you know, commenting through Facebook.
I don't see anything at the moment.
Okay, that's fine. So that's everything. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay,
Second,
who did that, Ann?
second.
Carl.
Carl,
Okay, Carl. I'm not even gonna ask about discussion. All in favor?
aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all for hanging in. I appreciate it always.
Thank you for everything you're doing, Renee.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Sheila, Ann,
Until next
Renee,
month. Bye,
Carl.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good night,
Bye,
everybody.
Tim.
Bye.
Tim, I'm gonna call you.
Okay.
Bye, Renee.
Bye, Judy.
See you later.